Hello fellow Minecraft addicts, Jarbo here. So today we are going to be talking about piston, what you can do with them, how you place them, and just a few of the basic mechanics and what you need to know to use them. When you place a piston, it will place with the head of the piston, or the part that moves, facing towards you. And if you place one high up, if you're above it, it's facing up. If you're below it, it'll be facing down. When you activate a piston, it extends one block. Deactivate it, it retracts. Now, it's important to note that you can't activate a piston from the head of it. It won't work. And pistons can be placed in all four directions, as well as facing up and facing down. They just have to get a redstone signal somewhere on the blocks beside them, above and below, and the one behind it, just not in front of it. That's what all these were, just different examples of the same thing. Okay, here we have an example of some of the things you can move with pistons. So if you move a gravity block, it will go up and then it'll fall back down when the piston retracts. This is a standard piston. A slime block, which sticks to everything around it, can be pushed by a piston, but a regular piston won't retract it. It just moves it up, and that stays where it was. It acts just like a regular solid block, as far as the piston is concerned. You cannot push a obsidian or crying obsidian block. A piston can't push those. Also, a piston cannot push a activated piston. This piston can't be pushed while it's activated. Now, if you deactivate that, then it can be pushed. Obviously, the lever doesn't go with it. Here's an example of another way that you can activate the piston. This lever is actually powering this whole block between the smooth zone and the piston, so it doesn't even actually have to be touching the piston to activate it. It just has to be next to it. It's also important to know that in this case, it has to be on this side of the block. Just powering this block will not activate that piston. The only reason it worked is because of where the lever was placed. That brings us to sticky pistons. So sticky pistons work pretty much the same as a regular piston. They extend and they retract. But with a sticky piston, they will bring the block that they are touching back with them because they're sticky. And they're only sticky on the face of the piston, not on the edges, so they will slide next to any block. Then you have slime blocks. If you push a slime block with a piston, and this is kind of just a function of using the piston with a slime block, the slime block will bring whatever blocks it's touching with it. So that slime block is touching that smooth zone, so when it moves, it brings that with it. And it could be on any side of that slime block and it'll still bring it with it. And here we have slime blocks touching here and here, and the slime block can move even though it is technically touching this piston, because this piston cannot be moved once it's powered. So that slime block won't bring the piston with it. That would not really make much sense anyway. But it did bring this dirt with it. There are certain blocks that you can place next to slime blocks that won't get pulled by the slime block. One of them is glazed terracotta. As you can see, the slime block can move next to it and it doesn't bring the terracotta with it. You can also use obsidian or crying obsidian the same way, because they're considered an immovable block as far as pistons are concerned. One thing that you can do with glazed terracotta that you can't do with obsidian or crying obsidian is you can push it with a sticky piston, but the sticky piston will not retract the glazed terracotta. So it pushes it out and leaves it just like a standard piston does with any solid block. Here we have 11 slime blocks and a piece of smooth stone all the way out here on the end. So a piston can move 12 blocks. So the 11 slime blocks plus the smooth stone all the way out there on the end. If you add one more block to that, you will go past the push limit of the piston and it can no longer push this load. If you break this block, it will extend. Now here we have 2 sticky pistons, slime, and honey. And honey essentially works the same as slime. Anything that it's touching, it brings with it, except slime. It doesn't move slime. These two can pass beside each other with no problem. So the slime can go up and down, and the honey can go up and down. You can see that we've got 2 pieces of slime next to each other with one lever, and when this lever activates, this slime block can bring this sticky piston with it because the sticky piston was not powered. So that's important to know for potential uses. Say this is not going to be a very usable scenario, but if you put a redstone torch there, you will create a double piston extender. And then you just have to make sure that this piston that was extended up here loses its signal first, and then this one loses its signal, and it will all retract. So here we have a pretty basic build that's pretty cool, and if you just want to show off your redstone ability, this is a very simple build that you can get started with, and all we have to do is walk onto the pressure plate and our door will open, walk off the pressure plate and our door will close. We can go back out the same way. One thing to keep in mind if you're going to use this is mobs can also stand on the pressure plates and open the door. So you might be better off using a button or something, but for the purpose of this demonstration, we're just going to use pressure plates. Now I have a cutaway back here so we can see how this is working. We've got 2 sticky pistons here, a solid block with redstone on top of it, a torch below it, and then a redstone line going around the center there so that when we stand on this pressure plate, it's going to power this block, which is going to activate that redstone, which is going to invert that torch and turn it off, which causes the pistons to retract. And then when we step off the pressure plate, it reverts back to its resting state with the pistons extended and the door closed. Okay, so for our last example here, we have a flying machine. And what we have here is a normal piston there with a slime block on front of it, a sticky piston next to that slime block with a slime block in front of it, and then 2 observers, the output facing into the slime blocks. The slime blocks can transfer redstone signals. So what's going to happen is when I update the block here, this observer is going to fire a pulse into this slime block. That's going to cause this piston to extend and push this slime block, and it's going to carry the piston, the sticky piston, and this observer with it. When that happens, this observer is going to fire a pulse into this slime block and extend this sticky piston, and it's going to grab this slime block and pull it back with this observer and that piston. And then the process is going to start over again and it's going to fly away. So, wrong block. Cause an update there. And it will fly away. And it'll go until forever. Till it gets unloaded or it runs into something that it can't move. And since it can't move this obsidian, it stops right here. Unfortunately, this simple one here won't travel back the other way. But when I was doing the terracotta on the sticky piston over there, I got an idea of how we can make this thing turn around and go back the other way, but that'll be for a future video. So if you want to follow along, you know, subscribe, like, notifications, do the YouTube thing. We will see you next time. Bye.